The three friends spent the rest of the evening talking about what schools they were going to and what they wanted to study. Much safer topics than Fiona's love life or impending lack of one. Amy even managed to get Fiona to go all the way into the pool, much to Shannon's and Fiona's surprise. Around midnight, Fiona climbed out of the pool and dried off. She yawned as she wrapped a towel around herself before rubbing her aching legs. She supposed that was what she got for letting them talk her into swimming even though she wasn't used to it. Guys on beat. Maybe we should go. Fine with me. Shannon followed suit and squeezed the water out of her hair. She glanced around, motioning to Amy. Come on. I'm coming. Chill a minute. Amy climbed out and grabbed her own towel, drying herself off as much as possible. As the small group made their way to the door, a familiar and loud voice carried through the yard. Hey, wait up. Fiona turned around to see their host making his way through the crowd. She and her friends exchanged a curious look as they waited for him to catch up. You girls weren't going to leave without saying goodbye, were you? Fiona couldn't help smiling at that. What are you talking about? We always do. You're too busy to notice most of the time. Well, I did this time. Actually, there is a reason I stopped you. His tone turned conspiratorial as he leaned closer to them. Shannon smirked, her hands placed firmly on her hips and a knowing tone in her voice. What do you want, Jer? Jeremy turned toward Shannon and gave her a nasty look. And what makes you think I want anything? Because you usually do, Amy chimed in. He rolled his eyes. Okay, you've got me. Fiona, actually it's you I wanted to talk to. Why me? She crossed her arms and stood a bit taller, guilt rising inside as she remembered him and his buddies watching them talk earlier. Had he overheard after all? I want to introduce you to somebody. He held his hands up in a defensive posture. I know what you're thinking, but I promise I didn't have anything to do with it. He saw you and he practically forced me to stop you. If I don't at least get him an introduction, he's never going to let me forget it. I don't know. Fiona looked from Amy to Shannon, begging for an out with their eyes. What can it hurt, Fee? Just meet the guy. Amy glanced around the yard. Where is he? If she wasn't my best friend... Fiona knew when she was beat. She threw her hands up in surrender. Okay, fine. I'll meet him, but that's it. As soon as the words left her lips, a sinking feeling in her stomach hit her hard. Pressure built in her chest, and she was overcome with the yearning to get out of there as fast as possible. The only thing keeping her feet planted firmly on the fresh-cut grass was the desire to avoid looking like a complete fool. Great, wait here. I'll be right back. Jeremy turned and walked to the small group Fiona had seen earlier. Jeremy kneeled down beside the pool and spoke to a guy Fiona didn't recognize. She tried to get a good look at him, but the other partygoers standing in the way prevented her from getting a clear view. She turned to her so-called friends and glared. Thanks for the backup. I really appreciate it. Really, Fiona, you need to relax. Amy kept her voice low as they moved closer. You know, Jeremy, she's not going to ease up until you at least meet this mystery guy. Why fight it? Shannon nodded. He's too stubborn for that. Besides, he is kind of cute. Fiona turned around and watched as Jeremy and the guy he'd been talking to approached them. The closer they came, the more she could see. Shannon's right. The guy was tall, with dark hair, and he walked with a grace she'd never seen out of a guy before. Confidence radiated from him, which Fiona couldn't help but appreciate. Fiona, this is my cousin Ted. Hi. He reached out to shake her hand, a smile on his face. She'd never met this guy before. She was sure of it. Still, there was something familiar about him. As they shook hands, the sinking feeling in her stomach became a free-fall. Hi, she managed to say through the panic building inside. Sorry if I'm holding you up right now, but I had to meet you. It's okay, she assured him. She gestured to her friends. They don't mind. Her cheeks flushed as she heard Shannon trying to suppress a giggle. He smiled. Good. Would you have a minute to talk then? You bet. Fiona stood there in silent shock, unable to believe the words had come up from Amy's lips. She's going to pay for that later? Fiona forced herself to focus on Ted, allowing a smile to touch a corner of her lips. That's a nice offer, but we really should get going. That's too bad. He looked over at Jeremy a minute, raising an eyebrow before turning his attention back to Fiona. Maybe some other time then? Right. I'll let you know. Jeremy and Ted turned and walked away, leaving the girls alone. Fiona rolled and hissed at Amy. Thanks for answering for me. Sorry. Amy shrugged. It just came out. Seriously, though, I think he's cute. Plus, it's not like he asked you out or anything. You just want to talk. Even if he had, it's not like you haven't gone out with other guys before. Yeah, but not since prom. She didn't bother mentioning no one had asked. She figured people were too focused on their futures, far away from their small town to bother. So have you guys talked about that at all? Shannon put her hands on her hips and waited for an answer. No, Fiona admitted. Just sort of started happening. So there's no problem, Amy reasoned. Or are you changing your mind? I really don't know. Fiona turned and headed for the door. Before the girls exited the house, she looked over her shoulder and snuck another glimpse at Ted.